This is English Literature Wave. I am Prof.L.B.Gayakawad. We are discussing on the functions of language. That is the basic functions of language. Today we are studying the function of expression. That is the expressive function of language. We will see in detail what is actually the expressive function. The second function of the language is expressive function. It is called the second function, means the expressive function is the second function of the language. That is called the English language or any language in the world. That is the expressive function. So, expressive means the language wants to express something. Language is lifeless. Actually, language cannot speak. But man speaks this language, means man uses the words, phrases of the language, and man uses this language, and man talks his mind, his desires, his feelings throughout the language or with the help of the language. That is called expressive function. So the second function of the expressive basis is about the language through which the language expresses. The point is very important that here the language expresses means the language tells something. Means when we take boy, so this boy is the language. Boy means a person who has two legs, two hands and a body. That is a boy. Means the language expresses. It means the language tells something about it, or when man uses it, then language tells about the person. But actually the expressive function is related with the language, that the language expresses out means the language expresses out the desires and feelings in the mind of man. Means in the mind of man there are some feelings, there are some desires, there are some dreams, there are some willings, and those things, those matters or those dreams, again I will say, are expressed by this language. It means that language is the particular vehicle, language is the particular medium by which man wants to express his mind, his feelings and his desires. So that is called the expressive function of the language. To express is the word in English. What is the meaning of this word? Express means to tell something. Express means explain. Explain means describe. Means write something or speak something. That is called express. And so express is the word which has made the expressive word, and that is the expressive function of the language. And that's why here we have seen that this language expresses the feelings and desires in the minds of persons. Common man expresses his common things. Now we have taken the first example to see the expressive function of this language. How this language is used, or how person uses this language for his expression or for his expressing emotions, feelings or desires. So at first we have taken the example of a common man, that there is a common man who expresses his common things through his common language. What is the explanation here? If the person is a common person, so his language is common. So that common person has the common life, and that common life is also important life, and that's why this common man expresses his common things through this common language. Again, the explanation is that language is common for all, and man is also common, means every person uses language, and that's why that is called the common person and common language. So the explanation is that common man expresses his common things through his common language. Scientist, there is the second example we are taking, is that scientists are there, and these scientists also express, if there is one scientist, he expresses, or if there are lot of scientists, they express about their inner research, because research is here. The research is here means the research of the scientist is there in his talent and in his heart. Means the researcher uses, or the scientist uses, his inner feelings and his head feelings or his brain feelings he uses. And all these feelings, all these desires of his research, of his scientific matters, he uses with the language. Means he expresses his inner research feelings, his research through his scientific language. So what is the explanation here? Through his scientific language. It means that if the person is a scientist, he uses the scientific language. If the person is a teacher, he uses the language of teaching. If he is a farmer, he uses the agriculture language. If he is a doctor, he uses the medical language. And in this way here, there is the scientist, and this scientist uses this language and expresses his inner feelings, his inner research, because the research is inner. Inner means why? Because his research is here. That research is hidden. Inner means we cannot see that research, and that's why that research is here, or that research is here, and that research he uses, or he talks out, or he speaks out, or he expresses out in front of the people, in front of the society, through the scientific language. That is the point. Poets, the third example we have taken for explanation is that there are some poets, there are some writers. So these poets and these writers express themselves. Express themselves means they express their feelings in their poems, or in their writings, or in their lessons, or in their dramas, novels. So the poets, the writers express their feelings themselves through their literary and imaginary language. Now it is very important thing that there are the poets, there are the writers. These writers and these poets use this language, and they express their feelings, their imaginative things, their innovative things in their poems, in their literary works. That is dramas, novels, or any kind of other literary piece. Means we have taken here three examples of three persons. At first we have taken the example of a common man, then we have taken the example of the scientist, and now we have taken the example of the poet and writers. In this way, these great persons, these are the great persons, means common person is a great person, scientist is a great person, and the poets and the writers are also the great persons. And in this way, these great persons have given the knowledge. Means we have been given the knowledge, or there is the knowledge in front of us only because of these great people, because they are the great people, and the great people have the great talent, and because of that great talent they have created the knowledge, they have created the innovative language, and these people, these great people have given us the great knowledge of the great language and information. And these great people have also given us the information through the means of language. Means they have given this great language to us, but they have given this great knowledge to us only with the help of the language. If there was no language, these persons were unable to tell us about the great language or great knowledge. It means that knowledge is there, so the language is there, so these great people are there, and these great people are there. So the knowledge is there in front of us, and it happens only because of the expressive function of the language. The knowledge and information. Just we saw that we get the knowledge, we get the information from these great people with the help of the language, with the help of the expressive function, and this knowledge and information of the great people have attempted to solve the problems in society. It means that these great people have attempted, or they have tried to solve all the problems in the society. Means if we take the example of the poet looks out in the society some drawbacks, some follies, or some bad things, bad customs, and he writes a poem on those customs, and he wants to rule out those customs from the society. And that's why these great people have given us the great language, and they have tried to solve all the problems from the society with the help of this language, with the help of the expressive function. And it has been possible due to the language. Yes, it is very correct that this thing has happened, or this expressive function has happened responsible, or it has become very responsible only because of the language being the best vehicle, because this language is the best vehicle of expression, and that's why only because of this language it has become very successful. So we can say that if the language was not there, man's desires and feelings would have been nowhere. What is the explanation? If the language was not there, means if God had not created a person, the language was not created by the God. And if this language was not there on the universe, what would have happened? Then man would have no life. Man would have no life, and man would have no desires and feelings, and there would have been no universe, or there would have been no language, and there would have been no expressive function. So if the language was not there, man's desires and feelings would have been nowhere. The language is there, and so the desires of man has been there. What is the explanation? There is the language. So the desires and feelings and dreams and willings of the person have the importance. Otherwise, they have no importance. The language is not instinctive. The explanation is that the language is not instinctive. Instinctive means what? It is not easy. Instinctive means it is not inborn. Means if man in the childhood is a child and he takes a birth, when that child takes a birth, he cannot talk that language. He goes to the school, he goes to the college, and then he learns the language or the pattern of the language. That's why we can say that the language is not instinctive. Means we cannot bring this language from God. We learn that language here in society, and that's why the language is not instinctive. Yes, language is God gifted, but actually this language is not instinctive. Means it is very hard. We have to learn this language by going into the colleges. So it is called the language is not instinctive. Still man with attempts have conquered it and established his social group of cooperation. So this language is very difficult. This language is not instinctive. Still man has acquired, man has learned this language, and man has established, means man has made, means man has made his colonies, man has made his groups, social groups, means there are many social groups of man, there are many colonies of man. We are looking only because of this language. Language is there, so there are the social groups of persons. That is the explanation. And those groups are for civilization, means this man has made all these groups for his civilization, all these groups for his culture, and that's why this culture, this civilization, all these have come to the person only through the language. And now man is living his life with the beautiful civilization, the beautiful culture, tradition. There are many races, there are many persons, they talk various languages. India is the country where the various languages are spoken, and that is called the civilized country, that is called the cultured country. The authors thus have attracted the society. What is the point now? The writers have attracted the society. Why? Because they have the language and they think more. They use the versatile language, they use the beautiful language, they use the economy of language. That's why these authors and their expression or their expressive function attract the society, and people read their books. Why people read their books? People read their books because their language is expressive, their language expresses more, and that's why the society is attracted by the writers, and that's why the literature is very much popular in the society. And this happens only because of the beautiful language of the persons, that is called writers. They have got up the sleeping man in the heart of public. What is the explanation? When the sleeping person reads the literary book, that is called novel or drama, or if he reads the Ramayana or the Mahabharata, then the sleeping person also gets up from his sleep, means he thinks something. When he reads the character of Shakuni, or when he reads the character of Dhritarashtra, or when he reads the character of Sri Krishna, then he knows the knowledge through the expressive function of language. And the sleeping person means the ignorant person who does not know anything, he does not understand anything. That person gets up from his sleep and he becomes a good person. That is the basic function of language, and this happens only because of the expressive function of the language. Thus, language is social. So we can say that language is social. Why? Why language is social? The language is social because society reads language. Language is society. Society is language. Just I said that the Mahabharata, the Ramayana are the books which are read. Quran is the book, that is Bible is the book, and all these books are written in the language, and that is the expressive function of language, and that's why we can say that the language is social, because of this language the classical books have been written. The informative function has provided the informative language, means the first function we saw in the first lecture, the informative function. What is the informative function? The informative function gives the information of language. For example, we will see the poet gives his information with the help of his language. So the poet gives his information with the help of his expression, means the expressive function and the informative functions are very much related with each other because they are the basic functions of the language. Again, I will say that this language shows the multiple functions because the informative function is the expressive function, the expressive function is the informative function. So we can say that the poet uses the, or the person uses the multiple or innovative functions of language, or the poets or writers or the common man even also uses the multiple language to write his innovative feelings, to write his innovative poems, or if the writer is there, he uses this in multiple functions of this language to explain his desires and feelings. The above explanation shows that the language is expressive. So we saw all the explanation. By this explanation we can say that the language is expressive, the language is informative, and the language has the multiple functions. Here we have seen today our expressive function, and in the next lecture we will see the next function of the language. Here I am Professor L.B. Gayakawad requests you all to share, to like and subscribe my channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much.